Good afternoon. Happy Thursday. How are you guys? I'm coming to you live again on my Thursday at noon Eastern Time Facebook Live. Sorry for missing last week. I was traveling, and in my head I thought I could easily do another Facebook Live, but as per the topic of today's conversation, in my state of wanting to give myself more self-love, I decided to not overschedule myself, and therefore we didn't do my Facebook Lives last week. Like I said, I was traveling, and it just was turning out to be a very hectic time. So I honored myself, and I listened to myself, and I skipped last week. So anyway, I'm back, and I'm happy to be back, and hope you all had a wonderful 2 weeks. And so let's get into it. So the topic of today's conversation is three simple ways to incorporate more self-love into every day. And I was thinking about this as I had a Skype consult this morning. So I woke up, fed my little guy, got him ready for the day. Made coffee, made our breakfast. Then my nanny showed up at 8:57. I had a 9 a.m. Skype consult. Then I had a 10 a.m. call with my team. Then I had an 11 a.m. doctor's appointment for James. And then now here I am at noon and doing my Facebook Lives with you guys. And then I hang up here, I have a bunch of things to do, and then I have another consult, and then I hop on a train to the city, and I'm speaking tonight, which I'm super excited about, with the Soul Camp girls, and myself and Randy Zinn of Beyond Mom are going to be talking about vitality this evening at the Lululemon Hub, the one on 17 and 5th, tonight in the city at, I think it starts at 7:30. So anyway, that's kind of what my day off looks like, right? When people are like, oh, you're only in the clinic 2 or 3 days a week? So nice to have all that other time. I'm like, yeah. So anyway, was thinking about what do I do? Even on a day like that, where it's literally like boom, 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 to make sure Amy's taking care of Amy, make sure that Amy's loving Amy in the right way. And also to talk to you from a place of practicing what I preach. So in an ideal world, I would have gotten up at like 6 a.m. this morning, meditated, exercised, then got my son up, when he gets up at like 8 o'clock, 7:45, then do the whole routine. But I was exhausted from travel. I'm still fighting this head cold. My husband's sick. My son has a cough. I slept until James got up. That was an act of self-love today, right? That was my act of self-love, not actually waking up early to meditate. So that we, can be flexible with these acts of self-love, and rather than, beat yourself up for what you didn't do, what were the ways that you exercised nourishing yourself? And I think, all this talk about self-love is very cliche these days and can get, personally a little annoying. What does self-love actually even mean? And to me, it means being kind to yourself. It means nourishing yourself, so not just with healthy food, right, but healthy thoughts, healthy lifestyle choices. And, then that begs, what's health? So I really think anything that nourishes us, that gives peace to our body and joy to our body, and that feels good, and something that's going to feel good now and in 24 hours from now, right? So right now, a piece of chocolate cake for breakfast might feel good to you, and that might feel like an act of self-love, but then tomorrow, are you going to be beating yourself up over it? Or do you have a gluten intolerance like I do, and you're going to feel like absolute shit because you ate it, So let's think about that. So that's, I think, what self-love is this state of nourishing ourselves and being kind to ourselves and, we did a webinar last night on is stress affecting your ability to get pregnant, and I did it with Joanne Verkeilen of Circle and Bloom, and I loved our conversation. And one thing, the word she used I loved was self-discovery. And I think that's a huge piece of this self-love component, right? Is what is it that works for you? Because every body is different, every mind is different, and just this place of self-discovery is really important to that piece of how to nourish and nurture ourselves. So a big thing that I talked about last night, and Joanne as well, is, there's science to prove this now, but your body, every single cell in your body hears everything your brain says. So how often are you in a state of frantic panic? Like even this morning, like I just, and even yesterday, like I wasn't feeling great. I felt very overscheduled, and I kind of just said no where I needed to say no. I had to reschedule 2 of my Skype consults, which, if you know me or have ever worked with me, that's not something I really ever do. But I have to learn to, and that's where I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm going to reschedule those people. They're going to get their time with me. But the healthy knows that I can actually exercise and say, like, no, I have to actually step back and take care of me, because I had a busy day yesterday, a full day today, a full day in the clinic tomorrow. Anyway, but that's part of my self-discovery, what's going to work for Amy. And now, hopefully, in the future, I'll know that when I see that on my calendar, like, no, I'm too overscheduled, I'm going to actually change some things 2 weeks in advance rather than 2 hours before I was scheduled to do something, right? So, I'm learning from that. That's part of my self-discovery. Another part of the self-discovery process, is hearing the conversation in my head, so I'm a lot nicer to myself now than I've ever been in my life, a lot kinder, a lot more forgiving, a lot more compassionate, and therefore I'm a lot more kinder and compassionate to others in my life, and trying to always come from a place of gentle kindness and love and slowness. I had a consult last night, and she very much wanted me to give her step-by-step advice on what it is she needs to do next. So, I'm the expert. What do I have to do to get pregnant? And, and she'd been through a hell of a lot. Her and her partner were on the call with me. And, and I said, sure, I could, rattle off all the things you need to do right now, but I think the number one thing you need to do right now is to take a break and to let yourself heal and grieve what you've been through. Honor it. Witness it. So, when we talk about all this, self-love and positivity, it is not about sorry, an email just came in from my publicist that says Facebook Live. I want to make sure. Okay. Never mind, thanks. I wanted to make sure that I was actually live or things were working. That, it's not about not having those negative thoughts. It's not about not having stress in your life. It's not about not loving yourself. It's just about how do we react to it? How do we hold on to it or decide to let it go? How do we witness it and be kind about it versus, oh, I don't want to have those negative self-thoughts, or I don't want to have, the stress in my life because it's not good for me. It's bad for me. I have to, so I have to ignore it and, come up with, an action plan. And it's no, we have to witness it first. That's part of that self-discovery process, right? So I want you to witness the emotions that come up, right? And then, when it comes to the self-love piece, it's, and how am I nourishing myself in response to that? How am I reacting? What is it I'm saying to myself in the privacy of my own mind? Really then determines how you manage through all of this, and really how you nourish and love yourself. So, with that long-winded introduction, if you will, I think, so I was thinking about this as I was coming back from the doctor's office and getting ready to talk to you guys. I got myself a smoothie. It's not cold. It's they don't put any ice in it. Coconut milk, some almonds, some bananas, some avocado, cinnamon. That's what's making it so brown. At this place right around the corner, I got my husband a green juice. And anyway, just thinking about, okay, I didn't have time to necessarily make him breakfast, which I like to do when he's home. What am I going to tell you guys? So what's the number one act of self-love? And it hit me as I was standing there waiting for my smoothie and the green juice to be made. Breathing. Just breathing. Simple breathing. But you breathe all day long, obviously. We all must to get by. Conscious breathing. So I should say conscious breathing is number one step to self-love. Conscious breathing. And so that's just, okay, I'm waiting in line for someone to prepare something for me. We all are waiting in at least one line a day. I'm positive of that. Can you take like 3 deep breaths while you're in that line? Check in with yourself. Tune in with yourself. Are your shoulders up to here? Is your jaw clenched? Are you chewing on your nail? Are you on your phone? I know I am sometimes. I do this with my head. That's one of my things. So I'm constantly, like, when my mind's going, I'm like, I don't know what I do up there, but I've been doing it my whole life. And rather, so even I think about that, like if I'm driving or if I'm waiting in line, and it's like, okay, hands relaxed down by my side. That actually allows me to then become very present and aware. And like 3 deep breaths, awesome. If you could steal time for an extra 10 deep, very conscious breaths in the shower or on the toilet, huge, huge, huge part of self-love, self-nourishment. And in that breathing moment, you're then able to hear the rattling that's going on up here in your mind. And I know I read something the other day that 90% of our thoughts every day are the same. So that goes into step number 2, the simple act of loving yourself, number 2. So we're going to breathe. We're going to get in our body, conscious awareness, being present. I mean, listen, if you can meditate 15 minutes twice a day, rock solid. But if, like, a day like today, like, I'll sneak in a meditation later and for sure before I go on stage tonight to speak. But for me, those breaths were just really important for me to, like, tune in, be aware, be live, be present in my body. So if some days we have time for that meditation, awesome, amazing. Even 3-minute meditation, 5-minute meditation, rock star, that's great. But if you don't, rather than beating yourself up because you woke up too late, you didn't have time to meditate, you didn't have time to exercise, just catch a couple deep breaths. Tune in. Be kind. Hear what you're saying to yourself. You know, and sometimes it helps to jot it down. You know, like sometimes for me, a thing that'll come up is it gets almost like the not doing enough thing, which, you know, if you know me and you follow me, I do a lot. But it's just an old pattern of mine that is like, or you didn't do it good enough. You know, you got to do it better next time. You know, and that's one of the Amy-isms that's in my head. And so now when I hear that, you know, or even like before I got on with you, like I look at myself in the mirror and I, you know, it'll make me emotional to say, but I looked at myself and I said, you do so much good for so many, and you should be so proud of yourself, you know, and that's not a wonderful thing for, I shouldn't say wonderful, that's not an easy thing for, see, it's making me cry. It's not an easy thing for me to look in the mirror and say to myself, but it's true, and I know it's true, and it's good for me to hear it. That is an act of self-love. That is a kindness to myself because I'm able to consciously breathe. I'm able to say in my head, you know, oh, you know, you're being a little hard on yourself, and so that I step in and I'm practicing kindness and love towards myself. And so, you know, but until we do that breathing and the conscious breath and the conscious stepping into our body, which is your simple step number 1, then we need to, when we do that, then we can start to hear this conversation that we're having in our minds about ourselves. And what we can do in response, is step number 2, is to be kind to ourselves. And that kindness will go a long way, because if you don't hear the conversation, and then you're rattling off all the reasons that you suck, all the things that you're doing wrong, all the reasons why X, Y, and Z isn't happening for you, then you're going to be like, F it, I'm going to eat chocolate cake for breakfast. I don't really give a shit. And then I'm not going to exercise, and then I'm going to have a couple drinks. I'm going to feel sorry for myself. It starts this vicious cycle. So if you just slow down, hear this conversation, and say something nice to yourself. You know, even if it's as simple as you're doing the best you can do. That's it. With what's been handed to you, you know what? You're getting out of bed every day. Good for you. You know what? You're showing up for certain things in your life. Good for you. And you know what? You've been here before, and it's gotten better, so it can get better, right? And then it can be something like what I just did, you know, where it's like, I'm proud of you, Aim. You do some good in this world. I'm proud of you. You should be proud of you. You know, that, again, it still makes me emotional because it's such an awkward thing to be like, you know, and it's not an ego thing. I'm not like, rock on, girl, you know. I mean, I could be, too, but it's not coming from this ego place of you're so much better than somebody else. It's not that. It's more like honor and recognize how you add value to the world, because you do. Even if you don't think you do, you're adding value somewhere. If you're a parent, you're adding value, right? If you hold your child and kiss your child once a day, you're adding value to this world, right? If you eat something that nourishes your body, you're adding value to your body, right? So it could be really, really simple. You throw your trash in the right receptacle. You're adding value to this world, you know? And I mean, that might sound really mundane, but if you're having a hard time seeing where your value added is, you know, look for the simple things. Did you open a door for someone at the bank yesterday? Did you, you know, say thank you to whoever prepared, you know, your smoothie this morning? You know, did you look in the mirror and say something kind to yourself? That's adding value. You add value everywhere. So step number one, we're going to breathe consciously. We're going to get into our body. And we're going to, in that act of breathing and being conscious, hear a little bit of this conversation. And so step number two is we're going to be kind to ourselves in that conversation. That is where all the changes happen. So, sure, I could tell you what to eat and how often to meditate and what to put on your skin and all these things, but until you decide that you're worthy of being kind to yourself, none of that shit's going to make a major difference. Or it will. You'll follow like a 3-week plan, 3-month plan. It'll work, but you're going to go right back to your old patterns. So you got to be kind to you. So you got to step into your body, breathe, be conscious, say kind things to yourself. And then I think the next simple step, I mean, there's a ton that could be, but what I'm trying to prioritize in my life, thank you to my lovely Beth, who made a comment here. Let's see. So needing this today. Yeah, her grandpa died. I'm sorry, my love. Self-care and self-love is so important. I heard your voice in my mind, reminding me to practice what I preach. Yeah, it's so true, right? And if we're telling other people, like, oh, you should meditate, you should do this. Here's a side story. I just left my son's pediatrician, and we moved up to Connecticut, and, you know, so I kind of, in a haste, had to find a pediatrician, and I don't really love this woman. She's very condescending. And she also is not the ideal picture of health, like, you know, the way, and I'm not judging her, I guess I sound like I'm judging her, but it's just obvious on many levels that she's not a very healthy individual. And she's being very condescending to me about some of the choices I'm making as a parent. And, you know, I left today, and my nanny had been with me for some of the appointment, and she felt the same way. And then she's the least judgy person in the whole world. She's very close to God, my nanny. And she said the same thing. She said, yeah, no, she's very condescending to you, like, as a parent. And you know, and I said out loud, I said, you know, I really want to go to someone who practices what they preach, and she apparently does not. But then I thought, well, if she practices solely all these Western medicine things, like take antibiotics for this and do this for this, and maybe she is a vision of what she preaches. Again, I'm judgy. I'm being a little judgy right now. But anyway, it was just, you know, you bring up a good point of practicing what you preach, and so that's what I'm trying to bring to you guys. It's like, what am I doing on a daily basis to active self-love? And it doesn't have to be like, oh, make this smoothie every morning and then drink this and then do this and meditate for 20 minutes. No, like real life, boom, breathe. Hear the conversation in your head. Be kind to yourself. And then number 3, laugh. Find one reason at least every single day to freaking laugh. And like real laugh, like a belly laugh. So this is what I was going to say. Beth gave me the book, The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. I don't know if you guys have read it. I haven't read a book in forever, so that was one thing. That was an act of self-love for me. I actually found time to read. I'm not through the book yet. I'm like 200 pages in. I'm loving it. But she has this chapter where it was, I think it's entitled, work less, play more, and that, you know, she's a busy single mom. She has 3 kids, and that when her kids would say, you know, Mom, will you play with me? It was usually, I can't, I have to go, I don't have time. Mama, will you play with me? Mama, will you play with me? I can't. She's beating herself up over it too, feeling pretty shitty about the whole I can't. And that one night in her year of yes, where she decided she's going to say yes to everything because I guess she says no to a lot of things, she was all decked out for like a black tie event in this very, you know, sounded like a swanky designer dress, hair done, nails done, right? And, you know, and her kid comes in all sticky and, you know, dirty from the outside and was like, Mama, Mama, play. And she said right then and there, you know, took her, it was a battle inside her head, but she said yes. She got down on the ground in her dress, played with her 3 kids. And she said, you know, you realize, and she says this in the book, she's like, I realize that not all of us have the time to give up. And just like with meditation, I think it's a perfect example too. But if you have kids, you kind of know they lose their attention span in about 7-10 minutes, you know. So you don't have 7 minutes to get on the ground and play with your kid. That's sad, you know. I think you do. I think you have at least 5, you know. And always, and I know it now, I'm a mom, there's always a laugh that comes out of me when I'm playing with James. So for me, it's more present and aware to that I want to laugh every day, you know, and just even if it's a little one. And he's the one who seems to bring it out of me the most. My husband's a pretty funny guy, so he can get a belly laugh out of me too on a regular basis. But laughing, I think, is one of the best ways to really nourish your soul and lift your spirits and find more joy. So simple acts of self-love, breathe, consciously hear that conversation in your head, start, you know, talking back to it a little bit with some kindness and compassion, words of understanding, words of love towards yourself. You're doing the best you can do is a very basic one. Like sometimes I'll say that to myself, I'm rushing around or whatever, I'm being hard on myself about something. Amy, you know, and I often will look in the mirror. I'll stop, I'll look in the mirror if I can, and I'll look into my own eyes, and I'll say, you know, you're doing the best you can do. And that's sometimes that's as good as I can get it, you know, and that's okay. And sometimes I'm doing the best I can do, but you should have done this better. Sure, that might happen too, but just that thing of like, you know what, like cut yourself some slack, dude. On some level, you can't be screwing up everything, you know, so there's got to be something you're doing that's working. So cut yourself some slack. Be kind to yourself. That's simple step number 2. And then number 3, find a reason to laugh every single day. Even if it's one of those really silly YouTube videos. Pull it up, watch it, get a good belly laugh and get in the habit. Slow down enough to like actually even be penetrated by joy, you know, and allow it in and get yourself to laugh. You deserve it. Okay. So there we have it. I'm going to wrap this up. If you guys are watching this at a later time, leave some comments below, questions, anything you want. And until next week, have a wonderful week. And if you guys are in the city tonight and you want some inspiration, I'm going to be at the Lululemon on 17th Street and 5th Avenue with the Soul Camp girls and Randy Zinn of Beyond Mom talking about vitality. Starts at 7:30. There's some awesome energetic energy bowl music before. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that, but it's pretty cool stuff. And then Randy and I are going to take the stage, talk to you about vitality. I think we're going to do some meditation, some movement, and out the doors by 9 o'clock because we got to get out of that space by, I think, 9:10 the latest. So in and out in an hour and a half, which works for most of us fast-paced New Yorkers. And if you're around, come. I think the tickets are like $20 or $25, but all the proceeds go to ACLU. And so it's a 100% donation, which feels good. And so I hope to see you guys there if you can make it. Okay, if not, I'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.